Right, we are going live. All right, we are live as well. So let me share my screen quickly and start with introduction while people are joining. I hope everyone could see my screen. Thank you. Thank you everyone for joining the BizKnight product series. We are on the 8th episode today. I think it's such a huge success, and it's actually because of the community that we have to say that we are on the 8th episode now. And we have 2 more episodes on this BizKnight product series, which is coming in the following months. So as you might have already heard, BizKnight product series is a 10-episode series on product management. And today we are on the 8th episode, where we're going to talk about product discovery in the time of Gen AI, such an interesting and a talk of a town topic, which is going to be presented by Rashi Atry. Rashi is there with us now. So just to give a little brief about the participants' experience in BizKnight product series, you might have already registered for the BizKnight product series. If not, please do so. Only then you will start getting the notifications for every event, and also the post-event quiz where you can gain gifts and prizes as well. So once you register for this, you will be receiving a registration confirmation email, followed by the invitation email, which will come to your calendar every month when a particular episode is opening up. And after the episode is over, you will receive a take the quiz email, where for every episode we have a dedicated designer who's designing all these avatarians. And for this episode, the theme of the avatarians is actually alien. So take the quiz and try to gain the alien themed avatarians, and then you would be able to, I think, unlock all these avatarians in your booklet, in the avatarians booklet. So that's with the event experience. I'll just get into the introduction of this topic. So we are on the 8th episode of BizKnight product series on the topic product discovery in the time of Gen AI. So what is product discovery and how to do it? Benefits of having Gen AI capabilities to optimize your product discovery. Things that Gen AI could do and could not do on your behalf in product discovery. All of these questions which has been running on our minds, and Rashi is going to share her perspectives on this topic. So a little introduction about Rashi. Rashi Atry is a senior product manager at TatvaCare, who is leading cross-functional teams, including product design engineering, to discover and launch B2C digital therapeutics products with stellar user experience for enhancing adoption and retention. Before this role, Rashi has also played product roles at Dream11, after being a techie in Dream11 and Naukri, where she has helped discovering and launch products for 130 million users. So this is a brief introduction about Rashi. With that, with all the warm welcome from the community, I'll hand over to Rashi, where we can begin. Over to you, Rashi.
Thank you so much, TatvaCare. Welcome everyone, a very warm evening. I'll just take a second to share my screen. I hope you guys can see my screen. Yeah. Okay. I'll move forward. TatvaCare has given a quick introduction of what we'll be talking today, and I'll take it forward from here. TatvaCare, thank you so much for introducing me so nicely with in front of everyone. It'll take really like 30 seconds to give a brief about myself. I have taken an attempt to write something on my own, and also to then a surprise element of what AI really has to tell about me. I started my career in 2012 as a manual tester, then automation tester, then senior automation tester in Naukri, been there for them with 5 years. A trend that I have started to see when I actually started to put my introduction here is that I started with really mature companies, product company grown in India, literally made for Indian citizens. Moving forward, I joined a company who was figuring out their goal from 10 to 100 stage of growth, Dream11, where I had joined as a tester and then transitioned into a product manager. and then eventually have joined TatvaCare, which is in their 0 to 1 stage in the digital healthcare and health tech community. And we are trying to do the best what we can for the Indian chronic patients in the market. This is small brief that I have for myself, but although actually GenAI doesn't recognize me at all, and for it, I have truly doesn't exist in the entire digital area, which is really surprising. But a short glimpse of what Gen AI or AI knows about us and what it doesn't know about us, and to what extent they have been crawling us over the internet. Moving forward and talking about the topic, which is product discovery, and talking about the what and hows of product discovery. A very important thing that we need to understand about product discovery, that it's a process. It's a process of identifying and learning the unresolved problems users have, to identify what we can really do for people, those who have been struggling with certain issues and in their life. I would like to actually do a small role play over here, where let's try and imagine that all of us are throwing a party. It can be a birthday that we are throwing for ourselves, our spouses, friends, kids, anyone, or it can be any other party. We start by defining the list of guests. We start by defining the number of people that we are going to have. Personally, and with experience of knowing people, those keep hosting parties in general, one of the biggest challenges that all of us come across is defining the menu, which is so vast, so many variety that is available, but what to pick, what to leave out, which is going to really fit best with our guests. We know in our social circle, we know people from different tastes, different lifestyles, different preferences. At the same point in time, you are considering to bring all of them together under one roof, and you want to conduct an event where you want it to be successful. How you really start to doing it? You start to chart out your guests in certain no's and hows of what you know. For example, for some of them, you would know, are they vegetarians and non-vegetarians? The first breakup that you start to create. Then you'll put together a certain set of, this is the budget that you can have, this is how long the duration is, you'll break it into courses, etc., etc. And a lot of times, there can be a situation where you start to speak to those guests to try and gather some insights. What do they really prefer? What is it that will eventually make them be part of the party and really enjoy themselves at the end of the day when they are going out of the party? And you are the great host of the party that you have hosted. What I'm trying to imply over here, a small thing, which is as small as just hosting a couple of people together, we go out, we speak to the people for whom we are hosting, we try and learn their preferences, and that's when we put together a solution. That's when we put together a menu. That's when we put together the drinks that we would like to offer in the event. Why? Because we want to be known as great hosts. We want that everybody who comes, who we have invited, they have a great time. They're able to enjoy themselves. They're able to have a good, just gel well without really having to fuss about that, oh, I couldn't eat this at that, etc., etc. Exactly, it's the same behavior when we start talking about businesses and product discovery. To figure out the real need and then solve for them, that at the end, everybody is able to have a good time about the solution that they are using. And then from the business point of view, I'm also able to make money. As much as we care about really solving problems for humans, at the same point in time, we can't just do it only on humanity basis. We need certain money to be able to keep scaling and keep doing that good job that we would like to do. Re-emphasizing this point, product discovery is a process. It's not a one-time task. It's not something which is a part of a checklist that I can just do and move forward. As product managers, we must keep doing it over and over again. Today, I'll start with identifying one set of problems and then solving for that. Tomorrow, it would be something else. Moving ahead, like I said, it's a process. The process involves a lot of number of steps that we start off with. While preparing for this, I went ahead a lot of content that is available. I read through a lot of pieces that are there. And to be really honest, it became really very difficult for me to put down what happens and what doesn't happen, to keep it here or to skip it from here, to keep the content and make sense out of the whole thing. But every step that we see over here has a role to play. And as we move forward, we'll see what roles that we are going to talk about over here. Let's take an example of ideation first, where the whole idea of ideation is to actually be able to identify, to learn that ideal problem, to be able to define that problem. What do I mean by that? I'll go back to the example of throwing my party. I know what I want to do. I also have a sense of what I want to achieve, have a good time, have a great party, invite certain number of people, so and so. But then when it came to really getting into the nitty-gritties, I was like, oh man, I don't know everything. What do I do? Do I know preferences? Do I know if everybody is going to drink? Do I know their drinking preferences? How many adults, how many kids, etc., etc. Bifurcating that problem, cohortizing it, segmenting it into different sections. Unless I am very clear what is that I really want to know and define the exact problem that I have at my hand. Basis on where you are, basis on the stage of the company, stage of the product or the business, how you identify it is going to change. A lot of times, if you're already on a mature product, you will be able to identify it via customer feedbacks or internal stakeholders coming back to you, giving you certain insights that, oh, this is a problem that we must solve, or this is something that we must do because these are the facts associated to it with evidences. Yet, a lot of number of times, there can be a situation where you just have an idea and you're like, oh, this is a great problem. I don't see anybody doing it. Can I do it first? Can I really get out and go ahead and build for it? There is a process that's associated to it. Why do we need to follow that process? There's no mandate. I can probably go ahead and jump it into solving it. This process mitigates the risk. This process makes me more aware. This process tells me more things how to move forward with it. Taking a step ahead and talking about hypothesis. Hypothesis is nothing but you defining that goal. The goal which I started with by saying, oh, I want to host a great party. I want my friends and family to know that, man, she's the one who's like, when it comes to hosting, she's the epitome benchmark, setting that benchmark around. Hypothesis is just that. It is more data driven. It is more quantifiable in nature. For me, rather than just to keep chasing that why and solving that problem, I need to know what I really want to do. I need to be able to quantify that if I'm doing it successfully or I'm not doing it successfully. How can I do that? I'll take an example of, maybe Spotify, very easy one, where we have been using their product. They had a certain goal. They wanted to give a lot of credibility to the musicians and the artists who were creating music and who were giving it out to the community to enjoy themselves. But eventually, just doing that did not really lead them to any kind of success. When they went out in the market, they were asked, what is the business model? How are you going to really make money out of it? Great, you have a great idea, you have a great business plan. Your product is fantastic. At the same point in time, what is the business model? How are you really going to make money out of it? You have to define how you're going to make money out of it. Making a point, the first metric that becomes important is revenue for any business to start off, where it talk about user acquisition on conversions, but then over a period of time, you will be questioned about revenue. Are you really making it or not? I put on a small. Is somebody asking something? I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I think it's just the background. I'm muted. Please carry on.
Yeah. Talking about hypothesis, I've tried to put a small example. Example that I learned from Dream 11, and an example that with my experience across different readings and different people that I've spoken to when it comes to Mythic, I feel that it is extremely stabilized and really hits all the points correctly. I'm looking at increase or decrease in the metric. I would like to put out my base from where I'm starting to the target value where I want to go. What is the percentage increase/decrease that I expect from my base to the target? And very, very important one, what is the duration? Now, if Spotify went ahead, got their first investors, they can't just say, oh, no, they're going to make maybe 1 million we are going to make 1 million from nothing today, and we are going to add to your revenue or to your sales of the musician and music company. From where you're going to start to where you're going to take it and in what time. I can't just say I'm going to make you 1 million. What time are you going to make me that 1 million? You're going to make it in 1 month, 6 months or so. Then it adds more credibility. It keeps you on the feet. And that's exactly what you want to do. It keeps you on your feet to know that are you moving in the right direction? Do you have a clear sense of where you want to go, your goal? While you do this, you start thinking about the next steps. I know my problem that I want to have at my sleeve. I know the, the measuring, the success criteria of what I want to really do over here. But how do I do it? I don't know the hows. How I come to that, I am not, I'm not intelligent enough, or I would say not, have enough sense of behavioral understanding and sciences. You guys have gone through the content about behavioral sciences and how important it is in today's time when we are building products. How are you going to really solve for it? What are the possible solutions to solve that problem? Okay, I'm sure everybody comes across that this is a problem that we need to solve, but what are the possible solutions? Is this the solution that you're suggesting is the best one? It's as product managers, as people, those who are working in industries and building products, we keep questioning ourselves about it. You put together all your team, you put together that core group that you have full trust on, you get in the room and you go wild. Why I say go wild, you don't restrict yourself of, is it possible, if tech will be able to do it, do I have the architecture? No, let's not do that. Let's talk about how crazy you can put the solutions over here. Apple started by iPhone, not by considering that, well, do I have enough means to do that? It doesn't work like that. It's about you just thinking wild. You just thinking that blue star thinking, that blue sky thinking, that this is where I would want to be. Now, list down as much as you can. Put it in stickies, Excels, whatever works for you. From here, as a product manager, you have to keep one charge and one control though. You can't go wild absolutely, because you will always have to come back to the rest two steps that we spoke about. Am I really solving the right problem? Am I, with this solution that I have in mind, I'm putting over here, or anybody has put over here, I'm going to make the metric, I'm going to move that metric to by any delta at all. When I'm defining my problem, I must be listing down who am I solving for, what are the core pain points that I'm solving for, and what is the motivation for the user I'm solving for. The solution that I put, is it really going back and associating to that? If I said I'm hosting a party, I'm hosting it maybe for birthday of my spouse. Does my spouse really want a surprise birthday party at all? I don't know. Is it okay with the guest list that I'm preparing? The menu that I'm setting fits well with the guests, but is it actually sitting well with my spouse as well? I need to keep coming back to that previous steps I have moved forward in the journey of product discovery to ensure that I remain in focus. And this is a statement I may repeat again while course of talking about these steps, because they're important, because this is what's going to keep you on track. Moving ahead and talking about prototyping. We understand what really prototyping is. It's just blueprinting all your solutions together, basis on the relevant basis, whichever ones are relevant for your hypothesis. You are not going to solutionize everything. You don't just go wild and say that, okay, I've received, I have one problem. I received 100 solutions about it. Let's prototype all of them. Not really. You will pick and choose the ones that are most relevant, that really solves your hypothesis. Now, why are you really doing it? You're doing it so that you can communicate with your team. You're doing it so that you can start to visualize, is it really going to work? You do it so that you can make your stakeholders visualize these solutions that you're planning to move forward. I'll actually take an example over here, and I intended to take it in the next step, but I'll actually pick it here because it was one of the great projects that I had worked on. But at the same point in time, I would say it was also one of the greatest lessons that I learned, even when I was not in product. When I was in Naukri, when I was in Naukri, it was just 2012. That was the time when internet had hit India. We were still launching smartphones. Android apps and iOS were the very new thing that the market was building, and everybody was trying to get hands on it. We had built a Naukri mobile application for job seekers, and as employees, And as a couple of feedback that we had received from the early adopters of the features in the mobile app, we kept receiving feedback that, oh, I can't apply to the jobs. I can't apply to the jobs. And whenever I'm either traveling, whenever there is poor network, and I feel that I have applied it, but actually I'm not able to apply. And job application, number of jobs applied was a very core important metric for the company and for the team as well. We said, oh, great. This sounds like a solvable problem. Maybe we can just convert this entire system to offline mode. And like, oh, sounds great. Technically, yes, possible. How much effort will require? Like, not much. But quite easy to really put it together. Fun. But a big mistake we did. We thought of the idea. We knew the metric that we are going to move. We brainstormed only one solution to solve that problem, not all of it. And then we, without really prototyping it, we said, okay, let's go ahead and let's build it. Skipped a couple of steps and we went into build-in execution. In the ideal scenario, if I were in those shoes today, I would say, let's see if this is really going to work. Is it possible for me to test it without really building it? Can I prototype and can I test it with my user? This also makes me move to my next part where we are talking about user research. I prototype the solution. I run that with my users. I do a research and I validate with my users that this is a solution my users are going to adopt. My users are going to really engage into it. Coming back to my example that I have taken of Naukri and applying jobs offline, it was a big fail. We undervalued the build effort that it required. We had assumed it would take us maybe 2 sprints max to max. It made us to go back and change the entire infrastructure. There was much more needed than we had assumed in general. And the eventual outcome of the delta that we anticipated will bring to our metrics over here wasn't enough. It wasn't enough with the entire investment that we had done and the efforts that we gave it. Only if I could have done this step, only if I would have done some kind of quality research, I could have spoken to my users, run this past my users, did a small survey with them to understand if it's going to really work or not. And there are so many ways to really do it. Fake door test is one of the examples. There are A/B tests that you can run. There are other small user surveys that you can just run with the users and see if they're going to really adopt it or not. But we didn't do it and we failed. We failed drastically. It really makes me feel bad that it was such a fantastic project, such an exciting project that as a team we did, but all of us were really not happy with the outcomes of it. Which then takes me to the next part over here, where we start talking about prioritization. I have a lot of solutions. I have run them with my users. Instead of having one solution, I had more than one solutions to run with my users. I tried and tested. I did some A/B tests I could. And then I came to the most important and most threatening step in the product manager's experience, prioritizing. And I would like to say, when you're doing product discovery, when you're specifically into this aspect, solving one problem and trying to prioritize the solutions, be super ruthless, as ruthless as you can be. The wild wilderness that you had shown during brainstorming, please keep that aside and come back to reality. Reality in terms of ROI. How much effort my team is going to put, and am I really going to see that much of effect on my metric? If my team is going to, if the solutions are really complex, as fantastic as they sound, but they bring only limited amount of delta or take me closer to my metric, I shouldn't be doing it in the first. So I should really keep that aside. And this is something I've learned with my experience a lot. Okay. I have worked in product companies who have been focused a lot towards users and business. But all three of them, when I have worked there, they have been in different stages. For Dream 11, I have been fortunate enough that I saw them at the stage where we were very heavily focused on revenue, but then eventually also we started to mature. We moved it towards retention and customer experience as well, which made me acknowledge and realize the importance of where you are, and you prioritize according to that. You prioritize knowing at what stage you are in, and what are the things that you must be prioritizing today, or the things that you must be keeping for future. A feature that I prioritized in Noxy, very likely I may not prioritize in my current organization. Reason being, my problem is different. I'm at the stage of business, different business stage. I may have a fantastic idea to have improved customer experience, but I shouldn't be doing it only because it just gives user a great experience, but and not really impact my user acquisition at all. And I actually there is a really live example as well. Once we were talking about entire TatvaCare is about building a community between doctors and patients together, bringing them close to each other for chronic patients and otherwise. And because we are solving for chronic patients, it made a lot of sense that if a person who is going through a lot of trouble, a lot of physical pain, goes and visits the doctor, let's try to make that journey very convenient so that the circle doesn't break because of just human delays and the psychology of humans and as more Indians to keep it for later, because that really impacts your health, and especially if you're suffering with any chronic disease. Like, okay, maybe we should integrate with some cab services or some dropping services, etc., etc. Sound like a fantastic idea. There were teams those who also pretty excited about really getting into it and speaking to vendors, getting it out and sorting it out. At the same point in time, that's not going to move any needle for me for when it comes to user acquisition. I know that my user would not just start spending time on using my product and adopt my product only because I give them a service that connects them with the doctor and also gives them a cab service. The point that I'm trying to make, whenever we are prioritizing, we need to be very, very clear of what is the actual goal that we are solving for. Like I said, coming back to all the steps that we had done and executed in the start of the product discovery stage. Moving further, once this prioritization gets completed, that's when you have a plan together. You need to put that down in a plan. You need to put a charter around why, when are we going to do what, and then we move towards the delivery stage of things where then it's build, learn, launch, measure, and we are super on top of getting the things out, getting them executed with your team and learning if it works, if it doesn't work. And a lot of times there can be scenarios where even after you have done all the due diligence, you move in the delivery stage and you fail. Google stands as the epitome of failures, and they have a graveyard of features that have lived lives for months to years in the community, and then they have just killed them because they were not scaling enough. And they are known for that culture of you have a great idea, run with the users. If it works, great. If it doesn't, scrap it and move forward. Any questions so far?
Rashi, there are actually few thoughts in the chat. So there's one question from Varun. Varun is asking, I see a similarity between design thinking and product discovery regarding these steps. Is this a general workflow or something specific to product discovery? Is there, which I cannot see yet? Also, what is the reason we have user research really late in these discovery steps?
So, okay, I'll answer the question one by one. Talking about design thinking and product discovery, design thinking is how you start executing of when you really get into solving that problem. Product discovery is a step before when you actually have to get into design thinking. Design is the way of executing how you really operate, whereas when it comes to product discovery, is your journey from ideation to actually bringing it to entire execution. Now, answering your next question also with the same one, when you talk about user research, in the phase of ideation is not solely dependent on you having a lightning moment sometime, or your founder or someone else in the company having that lightning moment, which you would want to go ahead and chase. But it's the aspects of actually you getting into ideating and solving that problem could be from various things. Because you did some user research and you found out that, there are some problems that your users continue to face. You were looking at certain data points, you realize, there is a certain drop, but I can't really articulate to any of the problems that the flow may have, but this continues to happen. What is wrong? You go back and you do user research and then identify that problem after speaking to them. User feedback, your internal stakeholders' feedback, market analysis. These are some of the points that feed into that ideation. These are the smaller nuances that you actually do in ideation and coming back to the user research. The second part of user research is primarily user validation of the solutions that you have put together. And it's not just about understanding what the user wants. They've already learned that in the ideation journey and we are moving forward. I hope that answers the question, Varun.
Thank you, Rashi. And then a lot of people have actually put a message there that they're really looking forward to the next part, which is the Gen AI part, as to how Gen AI is shaping the product discovery. And there's one question from Abhinav, which is how often do you update your roadmap with the context that you explained?
Sure. Abhinav, I have been part where roadmaps have been updated every 6 months. I have been part where roadmaps were updated every 3 months or within 45 days, 6 weeks. And in today's time, I'm working in an organization where I'm updating my roadmap almost every month. It really depends on the maturity of the company, the stage where you are, and also basis on the clarity that you have as business where you would like to go. I know Uber is very famous to have certain themes defined that they would work on, but a lot of times even a company who's globally working and successful in business, they keep refreshing their roadmaps because the charter has changed for the team or for the company overall. For more mature companies, it would be updated less. It's for the fresh company that it's updated more. Okay, now I'll move forward to the Gen AI part. A lot of people are waiting for that. Yeah. Now, when you start talking about, I'll take probably 30 seconds on just explaining what Gen AI is. And I believe that given with the questions, we all understand and have a certain sense of what it is. Gen AI is nothing, but it's actually a lot, but still it's just a part of artificial intelligence. We have seen artificial intelligence, experienced artificial intelligence in different day-to-day lives and means, sometimes even when we don't realize. A lot of recommendation models or Google searches, there is a certain sense of AI that has been built into them with different models on which they have been trained till date to give you the jobs to be able to successfully do the jobs that they're doing today. How is Gen AI different than that? Gen AI can actually give you content with artificial intelligence. It can really generate text, images, and videos for you based on the prompts that you're giving it and feeding it to the system. The kind of inputs that you give, the kind of clear prompts that you can really provide it, the fantastic solutions, the possibility of you being able to get the fantastic solutions out of it. We know ChatGPT is one of the products that exist, and there are such more products that would be used for you to do a lot of different jobs that you would want to do. And not just that, only today, OpenAI has also launched, released that in today's time where they have been working only on text and text recommendations and prompts, soon they will start working towards voice commands and generating solutions and modulating voice and giving outputs in voice commands as well. Which means that there is a lot of scope and a lot of things that can be done over here. Tying it back to the product discovery. My reason for emphasizing product discovery in general was to understand that there is a lot of work that gets into as a product manager, as a designer, that I invest into doing that activity. It's a long process. Am I doing it every day? I can't. It's really tedious. Should I do it every day? Should I do it for everything? I must do it for as much as I can, as much as it allows me to, but I shouldn't be really doing it every day. Yet, how do I mitigate those risks if I'm skipping that journey? Are there ways where I can really learn more about my users, find ideas, and then conduct them? Starting with the idea identification, ideation aspect, market research. If you start working with AI, if you build models and modules and run algorithms across the entire means of digital user base, feed in a lot of inputs in the data, there is a potential that for an e-commerce company, based on all the data that I can really feed into my AI model, I can able to understand the sentiments of my users. I can able to understand the kind of comments and the details they have been putting up. What works for them, what doesn't work for them. I can do that with other algorithms by human means as well. At the same point in time, having an automated system, of course, saves me a lot of time in really doing that. Feedback analysis. When I'm talking about feedback analysis, and this is again tying to the pointer I made of ideation and how you are doing user research, how you're understanding everything. There are models of natural language processing where you can feed in a lot of vernaculars in different languages, and the system would be capable to actually give you outcomes in a structured manner. It is said that negative feedbacks are the actual source on which you must rely for your next best idea to really solve for your customers. And this is where Gen AI comes really, really handy. You put in an NLP model into the system, you feed in the data that you can provide, and they are smart enough to give you structured sense of where the systems are going, what works for your users, what doesn't work for your users. With smarter Gen AI tools available, you can also do context building on top of them, bases on the products available by different products. I've seen it in the case of healthcare. I've done a couple of demos for the Gen AI products that are available with Microsoft, Google, and otherwise independently as well, where I can give a vernacular question to the data that I have fed in for a patient or a doctor, and I'm able to get outcomes in the sense of graphs, in the sense of reports, in the sense of transition, however I want it. So that's what the capability of Gen AI is. Enhanced competitive analysis. If I'm talking about e-commerce, I would want to know, and it's not just e-commerce, it's actually relevant for everyone. I do want to know how my competitors are performing. What is it that is working for them? Or is there anything that I can adapt and I can make it better? What are their customer reviews? What are their promotion strategies? Can I really learn something from them and optimize my product, my business model, my promotions that I'm giving in, running with my users? These are the things where Gen AI can empower you to identify and really do the job better. Now, some parts which I've not added over here, something that I tried and tested on my own, where we have been talking about, how with Gen AI, I can really write a PRD, I can really write my user stories and hand it over to my dev to give it up for building. Does that really work? I have my bias, and my bias comes from some various reasons. And my reasons get covered that as individual product managers, what Gen AI can really benefit you in and cannot really benefit you, and where it can't really benefit you much. That also takes me to my next section and next part of the topic that we're talking over here today. As great product companies and as great product managers in those companies, I'm expected to have a clear strategic product vision. Can a Gen AI really do that for me? It can't. Unfortunately, it can't. However smart it becomes. Can it give me the idea? Can it give me a sentiment analysis by feeding a lot of information? Yes, it can. Can it also possibly give me a solution? It can. Some of the list of questions. But can it really tell me which is the most optimized solution I should work for? It will give you a solution. There is no guarantee that that solution is the right solution for you to pursue. Because what you know, the Gen AI doesn't know. It doesn't know that what is the mission of your company. The mission of if you are coming from Slack, the mission of the company is actually to make it convenient for your users to communicate professionally together. Can it do that? May not. Even if it does it, you will always require a human to really vet that out. You can't mitigate that human's interference over there. But yes, what it can definitely do, it can make your job faster. Now you don't have to really get into a lot of information on your own. You can feed in that data of problems that you have been receiving. You can get a certain XYZ problems out of that entire bulk of data that you have fed into the system. And then you can also consider some of the solutions. You may save some of your time on brainstorming, but can it really do entire thing for you? No, it won't. It can't. And at any given point in time, even if you make it smarter, it really may not be able to do that. Because as humans, we only have the tendency to connect the dots together and have a better outcome out of it. I've done these actions. Now I need to talk about prototyping and bringing everybody together to aligning on top of that prototype that I'm talking. bringing my stakeholders together and align on them and agree upon the proposals I'm making. Can it do that? No, it can't. The co-pilots of Microsoft are very advanced to help you write better emails, help you write better messaging, communicate better with your teams, put certain strategies. Grammarly also provides you to do that. But at the same point in time, the context will always be yours. You know how to approach any of the stakeholders, you know how to really solve for that. But what it can do, it can bring efficiency for you. It can do X percentage of your job. I would say not more than 20 to 30% because it'll still require a lot of configuration to your end. But you can save that 20-30% time so that you can continue to focus on the core job that you're doing right now, your core work, rather than doing a redundant job. Another aspect that comes over here, after you have aligned your team, you have found the solution, you have prioritized it, can it translate into and align your dev to agree upon it? It can't. It can't motivate your team. You are that person. You are that single person who's involved in putting that threads together to push your team further, to get them to convince them enough that they are going to give their time and effort to bring everyone under the one, solve that one problem and commit to it. That's only your job. It can't do that. What it can again do, it can give you means, it can solve your times and give you ways and solutions of how you can really motivate, keep your team motivated, etc., etc. But it can't do the eventual job. And the last and the most important one, user empathy. We have been talking about feeding a lot of data into GenAI tools, getting solutions around it, maybe having sentiment analysis done on top of that, it giving me fantastic charts and giving me graphs of the kind of prompts I have given to the system. But in my experience working as a core customer experience product manager in Dream11, what users say and what users really want never fits well. Very famous quote by Ford. If I were asking users what I should build next, they would have told me just build faster, get faster horses, or build faster chariots. Something that we can see, we can read between the lines, exists as only human empathy, the emotions that we can understand. A system, a machine that you have been training with a lot of input and data can really not make sense out of that. I'll take a pause here. So where GenAI can help, where GenAI cannot, are the bifurcations. Places where GenAI cannot help continues to be the job of a product manager, continues to be the role as product manager that we have been playing, where we are working with different stakeholders day in and day out, making them able to convince to how things must move towards the right track and continue to be on maintain that focus we would like to have. My closing notes, product discovery enables us to identify the gaps in the market or product. Like I said, it's about identifying what are the white gaps where we can really fit in our solution and make the users really start consuming it. Your user must be motivated enough to actually make sense out of it and start to give their time and efforts. We are constantly must be solving and identifying the pain points. And that is exactly where, again, emphasizing GenAI comes handy, where you build in a system where you're feeding in a lot of information and on day-on-day basis, without you really have to look into it, it's going to give you and raise red flags for you to really go back and look into depth. AI tools only provide us the opportunity to work faster as an assistant. They do not do our entire job per se. What we can really leverage them, and ChatGPT is one of the examples that we most commonly hear. All of us also pretty actively use it, but there are also some other tools that we are using it for different purposes. BizKnight for prototyping, BigJam for prototyping, Grammarly for writing our content. The people, those who have any exposure in Microsoft Copilot that they have, which they're still testing, to write them faster emails, to communicate better, to be able to summarize the entire email thread, they save their bandwidth. They save their bandwidth to only do the rest of the jobs much faster. And that's what GenAI in today's time can do. And that is exactly where it's going to continue to scale further in the future. Okay.
Thank you, Rashi. Thanks for this session. There's a question in the chat from Krishna, where Krishna is asking if you could suggest some Gen AI tools that we can try, and also are these tools more domain specific?
Sorry.
No, Krishna is asking if you could suggest some Gen AI tools for amplifying the discovery, and are these Gen AI tools domain specific?
There are tools, Gen AI tools that are domain specific. I have been, given that I'm in the healthcare industry in today's time, and this is exactly in the last 1 year when we have started to speak a lot of Gen AI. So my exposure is a lot towards healthcare tools in that market, and there are a lot of specific tools that are explicitly working only on healthcare. A fantastic product that I have tried and tested is August.io. Fantastic product, like works like a WhatsApp chatbot. You ask it a lot of questions, can really give you some answers. Microsoft has its own tool where you can feed in a lot of information about your hospital discharge and gives you outcomes and give you briefs on top of that. There are similar tools that are available by Google as well. And so there are tools which are smarter and doing jobs only in specific domains particularly.
I hope that answers your question, Krishna. And and there's actually a comment from Mark where Mark was expecting if you could have shared some Gen AI case studies and how you would have actually gone through the approaches in using these tools, analyzing it, and then finding the alignment with the reality of the product discovery. So that
sure. I didn't add my case study over here for reasons of confidentiality, because otherwise, if I'm not really adding a case study that is relevant to me, I can really make a real-time sense out of it. It's not fair because then I don't know how right or wrong it is. I tried to write a PRD with ChatGPT, where I fed in the problem statement, I fed in the objectives, I fed in the success metrics. It was nearly gave me the sense of the kind of stories I must write, and also in the order I must pick each of the stories. But at the same point in time, it did not have enough context of the rest of the priorities and rest of the features I was building on top of it. So any of the Gen AI tool gives you the best outcomes when it also has sense of your context. So here I took a mention of Microsoft's soft Copilots. All the Copilots that they have work best based on the information that has been fed to them. Otherwise, these tools will continue to give you more generic answers. For example, I took an example of my name only, where I said, who's Rashi Atry? I'm digitally there, actually existing in the digital forum, but still ChatGPT wasn't really able to get my identity or say that this is who this person is.
Thank you, Rashi. Thanks for clarifying that. Yeah, I mean, there's actually a few things that's coming from this.
Privacy concerns.
Yeah.
Well, I am a core believer that in today's time, privacy is a myth, and anonymity and privacy are just two factors that are totally myth. That being said, whenever you will speak to any of the tools which is specifically working in the domain for your expertise or your industry, they use your data without really pinpointing it to the specific information. So, for example, with all the GDPR and IDPR guidelines that exist for data privacy in India and globally, as long as you are not able to identify Rashi as Rashi with the rest of the data she provides, it's absolutely okay. That being said, for the tool to work in relevant sense for you, you must provide a context for the things that you would like to run. So again, going back and taking an example of healthcare, I can't make a health bot or a health Gen AI product work best unless I actually give it some aggregated data from my ecosystem to feed into it. Otherwise, it will always, the responses that it will generate will always be generic and may not be fully relevant.
Thank you, Rashi. Thanks for answering that. I could see there are, of course, some thanks to you. People are thanking you for the session. And then there's a person called Farzeen who says, no questions, just here to cheer on my boss. So I think that's a personal appreciation for you. Any other questions from the audience? Anything else that you want to check with Rashi? I'm hoping no. But if there are any other questions, or if you're more interested to understand how Rashi is applying some of the Gen AI tools for conducting the discoveries, and as and when Rashi is also learning few things she can share. So please stay connected with her on LinkedIn. Rashi is there on LinkedIn, so you can connect with her and share your perspectives and try to understand her perspectives as well.
I would really love to hear from everyone about it, because what we know, it's like we know the formula, which is Gen AI, but where to apply it, it's like a playground for everyone. So it's the fancy term. We all want to use it. We all want to utilize it in our day-to-day life. But everybody is still struggling what it can do best and cannot do based on the learning individually. So we'll be happy to hear and share my views as well.
Sure. Thank you. With that, probably I think we are. Could you please share the presentation slides? Rashi, is it okay for you to share the slides with the audience?
Sure.
I could put it in the YouTube description.
Sure, I'll do that.
So Shruti, you can find this in the YouTube description of the video. So you'll get an email of the recording where just check the description of it, and there we'll update the slides.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for attending. Thank you so much, Rashi. Thanks for agreeing to give this talk. It was really so insightful. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone for joining. See you in the next BizKnight.
Yeah.